Regular Insight viewers recognize it right away as a valuable resource in planning and sustaining your retirement. She's Heather Foster, investment advisor and fiduciary. Today we want to talk about why it's so important to get a second opinion when it comes to retirement planning. We talk about it fairly often because it is so important to have that second set of eyes look at what you're doing.
I really like to think of it kind of like, the little foxes, right? It's not sometimes the big glaring issues that make the most difference in a financial plan. Sometimes it's just those little tiny things. I met someone here recently that came into me and they were over the age of taking out their required minimum distributions, which was quite a large amount of money they had to take out, but their IRA was what was most aggressive. Their after-tax money was very conservative. Their IRA money was very aggressive. That should have been flip-flopped, right? The after-tax money should have been more growth-oriented. The IRA money should have been, one, everything it makes is taxable.
Right.
Two, they're having to withdraw money out of it, and they were using the money, so we know that there's withdrawals coming out of the account. So little tiny tweaks sometimes. It doesn't mean that someone can't retire, has to redo their entire financial plan, but a lot of times people utilize that second opinion for a second set of eyes to look at how everything that they have, how it's invested, how it's correlating with their tax brackets, their tax strategies, how that's affecting their legal plans, how that's affecting their insurance plans. That holistic approach, that holistic planning, what we're really good at, or I don't know, sometimes I say it's a blessing and a curse, that I can look at something and pick out kind of all of the missing pieces, all of the holes, all of those little foxes that kind of maybe, hey, this isn't quite working well with this. If we just tweak this and this, then it'll have this effect long term on you. So that second opinion, we always talk about when you go to the doctor, you get second opinions. So few people get second opinions on their investments and their financial plans. You've been with a guy for 30 years, you like your guy. It doesn't mean that you have to change your current advisor. It's just that maybe they're not looking at it from the same perspective that someone else might be looking at it. So that's why we say get that second opinion, because sometimes it's just minor tweaks, but those minor tweaks like Roth conversions or giving to your charitable organizations, making sure your CPA is actually writing off those QCDs as a QCD. I've caught so many of those this year, Charity, I cannot tell you, where the CPAs are not coding those charitable distributions from IRAs correctly.
So they're not getting credit for it.
So they're not getting credit, it's not reducing their taxes, and now they're having to go back and amend their tax returns. So those little tweaks, having that second set of eyes, that can actually look at things from a holistic perspective. We catch a lot of little things that ends up saving people a lot of money.
Well, and it's like anything. If you're looking at something or your retirement planner or your advisor is looking at something over and over again, you just miss it. It's the same way if you're writing a letter and you want somebody else to proofread it. It may be a word that you spell, maybe the, and you just, you overlook it because you've looked at the same piece of paper 100 times.
Yes.
That's why that second set of eyes is so important.
But a new person can look at it and go, oh, there should be a comma there. And you're like, how did I miss it? It's right there, it's glaring in front of you, but you miss it. But I think that's what happens a lot of times is people just get kind of stuck in a rut on how they're supposed to do things, or maybe again, the financial person is just looking at the investment side of it, the CPA is just calculating the taxes, the legal professional is just handling the legal documents, and there's no communication going on between the three of them, and there's no cross-training going on, and when there's not cross-training going on, someone misses something because each party thinks, hey, I did my part. Did they do their part? Did they do their part? But if you talk about all of it and you actually realize that there's strings attached to these things, everything that you do in those three arenas affect one another. Having someone that understands how they affect one another, looking at your plan, again, a lot of times it's just small little tweaks, but finding a QCD, I had one yesterday. I'm like, hey, if you amend your taxes and have your person code this the correct way, it's going to save you $800. So a lot of times,
every $800 matters.
Every $800 matters, and it more than generally pays for the consulting fees. If someone does pay me a fee to look at their stuff, give them a second opinion, generally the savings and the little things that I find saves them more in their own money than what they have to pay in the fee.
And you mentioned you may have been with the same person for 30 years.
Yeah.
They're not going to be offended. You don't have to worry about offending someone to say, hey, I just want to have a second set of eyes look it over.
They should actually encourage it, especially if they're not doing holistic planning and not in the tax arena. I mean, they know that they're not in the tax arena or they're not giving, insurance advice, the different kinds of advice. So they have to bring in outside professionals anyways. It's just really making sure that you work with someone that at some point that looks at everything in a holistic way and finding those little foxes.
Well, holistic planning is so important, and so is having that second set of eyes. So for that second set of eyes, just give them a call at Foster Financial, 234-2200, and get that second opinion today. We'll be right back.